Hey, what's up everyone? This one rolled out as patch 1.10.4, and even though it doesn't come in swinging with big new features, it's actually doing a ton of behind-the-scenes heavy lifting that's going to make the game feel smoother, more stable, and honestly, just less annoying to play on a daily basis. A big theme running through this update is stability, especially when it comes to crashes and disconnects. If you've ever had a run die because the game decided to implode right as things were getting spicy, this patch is clearly aimed at you. There were several crash scenarios that players had been hitting consistently, like stepping into very specific spots on certain maps and instantly getting booted, or leaving a mission while certain particle effects were still active and watching the whole thing fall apart. Those kinds of bugs are the worst because they feel random and unavoidable, and according to the notes, a lot of those edge cases have now been cleaned up. There were also fixes for crashes tied to disconnecting during high-intensity moments like Rampage, which is exactly when you don't want the game to give up on you. Performance and memory usage also got some love here, and that's going to matter a lot depending on what you're playing on. There was a memory leak related to generating player portraits for UI presentations, which sounds small on paper, but can absolutely add up over longer sessions. Fixing that should help reduce stuttering and slowdowns that creep in the longer you play. On top of that, the update includes improvements aimed at players with slower or less stable internet connections. So if you've been dealing with weird desync, rubber banding, or general network jank, this patch is trying to smooth that out as much as possible. Gameplay-wise, there are a handful of fixes that will definitely matter to people who pay close attention to how weapons and talents behave. One notable fix addresses an issue with the Chirurgian's Muckache 4 bone saw when using a brittleness coating, where the damage profile wasn't working as intended. That kind of bug can really mess with build planning, especially if you're stacking effects expecting certain breakpoints. There was also a fix for stims getting stuck in a player's hands, which is both funny and infuriating depending on when it happens, and it's good to see that sorted out. Visual issues with several weapons were addressed too, including things like incorrect particles or muzzle effects on dual auto pistols, stub revolvers, and dual stub pistols. These don't always affect gameplay directly, but Darktide leans hard on visual clarity, and when that's off, it can throw you out of the experience. Movement got some important attention as well. Two unintended changes that slipped in with the previous update were reverted here, both related to dodging. One affected dodge behavior itself, and the other messed with how talents that modify dodge interacted with incoming ranged damage. If you felt like you were suddenly getting tagged more often than usual, or that your dodges just weren't doing what they used to, that wasn't all in your head. Rolling those changes back should bring things closer to what players were already comfortable with, which is always appreciated when muscle memory is involved. The mission board also saw a fix that clears up a surprisingly confusing issue where special assignments weren't matching their expected ordering. It's a small thing, but quality of life stuff like this really adds up, especially for players who are jumping in for shorter sessions and just want to find the right mission quickly without second guessing what they're looking at. Cosmetics and visuals got a long list of touch-ups too, which is pretty on brand for Darktide at this point. Several helmets, cloaks, backpacks, and coats had clipping issues or broken physics that have now been adjusted. Stuff like certain flak helmets not sitting right, greatcoats behaving strangely, or headgear intersecting with character models has been steadily getting cleaned up patch by patch, and this update continues that trend. There were also fixes for incorrect colors, item names, and decal displays, which matters more than some people might admit when you've spent time curating how your reject looks. There are a few smaller but still meaningful fixes sprinkled in as well. Some mission penance conditions were corrected so they now track properly, and there was a HUD icon issue with the Arbites remote detonation that's been fixed, making it clearer what's actually happening on screen. Even little things like shell casing ejection visuals and muzzle effects were tweaked, which, again, doesn't change how the game plays, but definitely helps it feel more polished. Overall, this update feels like one of those maintenance patches that doesn't generate huge hype, but quietly improves the foundation of the game. Less crashing, better performance over long sessions, fewer visual glitches, and gameplay systems behaving the way players expect them to. It's the kind of patch you don't always notice immediately, but after a few nights of smoother runs and fewer weird moments, you start to appreciate just how much work went into it.